All right. Ready to start?
Yeah,
All
I'm good.
right.
I'm good. Sorry.
I would like to call this meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Seco,
Here.
Kimmelman,
Here.
Beckman, Slaughter, Stimpson,
Yes, here.
Stuckey,
Here.
Will.
Yep.
All right. Looks like we don't have a work session this week or month. So let's move on to approving last month's minutes.
I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
A second.
Yep.
All those.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We need to approve the financial report separately, or is that included? All right. Public comments. Anyone want to start?
Let's go. Go Dan.
Missed you last month.
Yeah, man. That's great. I like your parking spot.
Escape.
I don't want to hit that. I don't want to hit that cop car. No, I just, Dan Cleary, 33 Rustic Terrace. Thank you guys for being here. I want to welcome Heather to the trustees. Thanks you all for being here and doing what you do and letting us be out here and do what we do. Don't really have anything, I see it'd be interesting to know, I see there's maybe a special meeting next week. I don't know if it's got multiple things on the agenda, but nothing's posted. It would be nice to be able to see that, but yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, as far as vote, like turn permits, do we have to do it online or can we do it at town hall? Like getting. You can by town hall. Thank you. Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Gonna respect the special meeting for next week. I think there's a lot of situations where there's not a lot of public comment required. But in this situation, I think you have several neighbors and I think interested parties that would be impacted. And I think there's several reasons why a meeting next week is problematic. First, it's the day after Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people are gone. Specifically, I'm out of town. We'll have to make special arrangements, and I'm happy to. But second, because of that time frame, you end up with a lot of people that may have public comment who can't be here because they didn't know about it until maybe like last week. There's also, I think, some confusion around how to communicate via the public in this situation. There's a notice that was issued, and it basically stipulates that below is information to send to the, sorry, I'm reading the wrong section, but there, in this notification, it details that you can comment, but it doesn't say when. And it doesn't talk about the timing for your written application to be submitted into the board's agenda versus only being able to speak in the open forum. Chad has been wonderful to work with. We've had numerous conversations. Our packet will be drafted and issued by tomorrow morning. It has been either that's normal or that's been approved. But I think it members on what is the agenda, how do they participate if they choose. Basically, my opinion is that we hold public hearings to provide citizens the opportunity to voice their opinions. Therefore, it's important that if the public, it's important that the public have a reasonable opportunity to participate. And I believe that in holding a special session on the 26th, it will most likely discourage versus encourage public participation. So I thank you for your consideration.
I'm just trying to see you at the record.
Oh, Eric, great.
Thanks. Why not?
Luke Fishman, thanks for the opportunity. Regarding 15 Wilderness, it has been a challenging process to understand the process. And I just want to say, I believe as a property owner, we have followed all that was transmitted to us via the town through the attorney and through Chad. Thank you for your patience. And hopefully, if there is a special, hopefully there doesn't need to be a special meeting, but apparently there does. So if there is, hopefully we can put closure on the topic.
All right, thank you. All right. I am going to close public comments. All right, on to new business, resolution number 202607. The resolution approving an agreement between the town and the Theobald Family Limited Partnership for limited public access to the Goose Tarn. Anyone have any questions? Everyone have a chance to review it?
I just had one question, I may have missed it. Does this have to be renewed each year or is it automatically renewed?
Our goal was to make it a constant permanent agreement until we vote, so it does not have to be revisited every year.
Is it the whole parties? I just didn't read that in there that it automatically renews. And I guess it doesn't
It
have
has
to.
a term, the term in which you terminate. The party knows what they want to terminate.
Just continues.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there is a provision in there that tells each party that there's a period of time in which if you have a problem with how the tarn's been operating, give the other one contact and we'll talk about how we might modify the agreement. That's written in there so that we can be more collaborative with the Theobalds on the issues that we have and the issues that they have. Might need to revise the agreement.
And that's intended
It's
to
the
be
same one,
agreed though.
Last month. It's the same thing. They didn't change anything on it. Just
Oh,
like-
otherwise I'm good.
Yeah, cool. Anyone else?
Yeah.
I move to pass this resolution.
I'll say.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Ordinance 2026-03. We just go straight to public. Oh, yeah, because you need to call that.
I was just gonna go over it a little bit, give a little bit.
Let's get Ted on first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
One of our members is calling in. Ted is calling in.
It would be Johnny. Ted. You ready?
They're the same one.
The fire one, sorry.
Okay, Ted, can you hear?
The other one.
Okay. We're gonna,
Just once it's
Alright.
supermajority, once.
Yeah.
By the way, on this, when you wrote these ordinances, it would be nice if you could highlight the change in the second one. As opposed to rereading everything and trying to guess.
oh, come on, I wanted to get challenged with that.
Anyway. I will read that.
So the next is an emergency ordinance to impose a suspension and delay of applications and issuance of permits for short-term rentals. Basically what happened was about last April, or this past April, about mid-month, I just randomly went online and picked several listings, like not a certain neighborhood, not an area of Blue River, just clicked on them. I would say 1 out of 35 were in compliance with the new rules that we passed back in November. I brought those to Chad, he was already looking at them. And then he sent out that newsletter on April 14th, reminding everyone what our guidelines were for short-term rental, about, listing, making sure you have the right count, no fires. Some of the listings had a fire pit as their first picture, a numerous of different things, and most of them, 90% were not in compliance. And we passed the new rules in November, so plenty of time has been had to get those listings in compliance. So then I wrote down the rest so that I don't miss anything. So to me, I said it's clear the town is still working through a number of compliance and enforcement issues related to the short-term rental program. We continue to see inconsistent is inconsistencies in volume occupancy advertising, license information, parking requirements, and just the overall regulations that we have in place. So given amount of work that we still need to ensure that we have consistent enforcement, accurate data collection, and evaluation of the short-term rental program, I believe it's appropriate for the town to temporarily pause the acceptance of new STR licenses and renewals while the staff and the board evaluate how the current program is functioning. So the purpose then would be for the temporary moratorium would be to improve compliance and enforcement, verify the accuracy of the short-term rentals data and licensing information, determine if we have enough administration support for the renewals, tracking and enforcement, and then confirm that the regulations that we've adopted are functioning as we intended them to be. I just believe it's important that we fully understand the effectiveness and administration of the current SCR program while allowing additional licenses or renewals to move forward under the regulations that may require further revision. The temporary moratorium would provide the town the opportunity to complete the work necessary to properly review and evaluate the current SCR program. Chad and Bob estimate 6 or 7 months is sufficient time to perform this work, depending on other urgent issues that may arise. If the work is completed earlier, the moratorium can be repealed. And because we will start receiving new and renewal applications towards the end of the year, it's imperative that we resolve this issue promptly. So no one's starting with meetings. That's the backstory on why.
Would you prefer to do a public comment at the front, or we have discussion from?
I think we should start with a public comment right now.
Okay.
We have any public comments on this?
It would be nice to comment at the end because, we don't know exactly. I have no opposition to it.
All right.
Let me just, since I don't know if people are familiar, I've had a chance to look at it, talk to Jody. To summarize, we have our rules. There's 3 people aren't following it based on just a random perusing of the internet. Very disappointing. I think we demonstrated a couple months ago that we're serious about enforcing and people violating and abusing short-term rental process. I personally don't want to see short-term rentals go away. Very passionate about making sure the rules are followed. He said it already, and I'll say it again. Compliance can only be done with enforcement. We don't have anybody to enforce this, and I get the impression that Chad and John are they've already got a ton on their plate, and I realize we've just gone through a big transition. But I think that, I know Chief had some opinions on this back when we did have a code ambassador. I don't know if that was the correct name. That person was let go or quit. I don't know. I'd love to hear that story. But I think Chief and really needs to be involved in this conversation in terms of how we get a good enforcement program. And I, for one, really want to make this a priority, get it done. I don't want to go 7 months and kick it down the road. I told Jody I was completely on board with her. But I would prefer 3 months just because I don't want people to be complacent thinking that, we got 7 months, but I just would like to get this handled, and that's it for me.
I just have some questions on the handout you gave.
Sure.
And I guess my question would become this is, I think one of the reasons we're really having this serious discussion is number of known short-term rentals versus total license STRs. This to me is fairly concerning because they don't seem to line up.
And I will also freely state that this is the handiwork that we've been trying to do over the last few days to ascertain this, but this is independent of having like the software that
I think that would be the conversation.
Yeah, and that is most certainly something that we are going to look into quickly to attempt to have an adequate software that will minimize the manual compliance, because as you quash one, there's going to be another listing site that comes up. There's no reasonable way to manually track each of those websites to know if someone's going to list on another or something else. And having a system that has an algorithm that can track and monitor and compare has had great success in other communities in Summit County, and something that we need to considerably look into to decide how that relates in our system and what software would be adequate to do so.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
conversation we had.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Could we have public comment?
well, let's have our discussion.
That's fine.
I'd love to have you guys, I
Yeah,
think you're right,
I
you
just
wanna come
wanna-
in, we're in. I want everyone to like,
Thank
you know.
Yeah.
This is just basically a breakdown of the ones we know about, like, there's just a staggering amount of non-licensed SDRs that would appear.
That's how many you think you have right now?
So we have, how many are known and how many are licensed in that neighborhood, so.
Oh, in one
There's
neighborhood?
some that, you know, we're like, there's 12 known SDRs in the neighborhood, but there's only 10 licensed. So that to me is super concerning.
My initial state, so far, we know, in this calendar year, we have 210 permitted STRs in town. We have, as far as I'm aware, at least at now 230 operating STRs.
So if you go to the reports of the civic, whatever part of the website, and there's the list of all of them, there's 240 there.
Yeah, and some of them weren't renewed properly, and some of them, yeah, there's these are the ones that we know of that are fully issued, vetted, and complied
Okay,
with it
210.
between that after you did that new ordinance and it rolled over to the 26 calendar year.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's what we're looking at the moment. Yeah.
How do we know the number of short-term, or the actual people with short-term money that don't have a license? How do we know that?
That has just been a lot of manual verification right now. It's
Right.
knowing ones that we
Finding
know
that.
have not renewed.
Finding that.
Okay.
A lot of the advertising going through Airbnb, Verbo, relative items, relative sites of that nature. Checking ones that didn't renew in 24 and 25 going into 26. There's quite a few that just didn't renew and properly do so. And that would be non-compliance as well. And then there are some that have never entered the system at all. So it's a healthy mix of all the above. So that's the challenge we're having in finding that. And that is not a comprehensive review at this point in any standard.
But primarily it's searching online,
Correct.
finding it, and then seeing if it cross-references to short-term.
Correct, and that's the where that need for
Okay.
that software comes in, because that manual checking becomes incredibly tedious and difficult.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
so it's a big one.
someone could just prop up a new one all of a sudden, and we could completely not realize that someone listed on a new website that the day after we checked the other websites. So
Sorry, we had a meeting we have a mayor's meeting every month.
Okay.
And we actually discussed with some of the other account managers around the county with Chad about what they were doing. Breck really likes their software. We actually learned about that at CNL last year. That Breck really likes the software they're using. I think that previously there was some pushback against using the software, but I think that it's important that at this point we do something.
And do we also have a third party?
They use a third-party software.
A third party, it's a software, not a third party that actually calls up and says you're in violation.
It
and
depends
follows
on
up those
It depends on the town.
Okay.
It depends on the town and the
Correct.
county, and the county also has their own thing too. So, it depends on the town and the county.
Okay.
The nice thing is that we have that form. We talk to every town besides Montezuma who never shows up.
as I'm aware, this software is more commonly used in Summit County as a supplementary tool for internal staff use, where it crops up warnings to manually verify, but it also has plenty of ones that it can automatically check and figure out, and even at that point send out, then create drafts of notices that just need a button to send them out. So it streamlines the process considerably.
Do you think it's appropriate to assume that you don't have time to do this effectively, or do you, and that we should consider either the police department or a third hiring someone to really enforce this?
Well, I think that's kind of the purpose of the moratorium in a way, is so that
I know we're not
they
gonna
have
solve
time,
it tonight.
right, so they have time to check and come back and say, these are my suggestions, and we talk about those and we figure that out. I mean, I think that would be
Maybe I can't say that the software is going to be, like a miracle solution or whatever, what have you, but I know we'll cut down on time. But regardless of that standing, I don't believe that's something that should be within the police's jurisdiction to require them to do manual that sort of administrative work on top of their existing workload. And I do know that John and I are at the moment over capacity relative to what we could do in this field. So it would require additional staffing to get a reasonable enforcement level or compliance level breach.
So I'm glad you, rather than reinventing the wheel, you actually reached out to somebody else that's got a system. Breckenridge seems to be very serious about it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that they have, once someone is in a continual violator, that there's another process that they go through, and you'll share that with the group as well, in terms of the habitual violator, and someone's just not gonna comply, what do you do? How do you enforce it?
That makes sense. We have good mechanisms of first, second, and third violation strikes and things of that nature in the ordinance that was established last year. So that is a good benchmark to work from. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't something there that may need to be supplemented by cross-referencing successful programs elsewhere.
So is there a difference, like you're kind of looking at the number of licenses and the licensing and coming into compliance there, and that I see an administrative area there, but who's going to look at, 8 cars in the driveway or the fire pit in the front yard? That's
Exactly.
kind of a separate, that doesn't seem administrative quite the same as.
No, you are absolutely right. That moves away from the what the tools obviously that can be used for that software. So that's outside of the scope of that. However, the software can, at a minimum, do things like scrubbing to make sure that someone shows that they can only have a maximum of 5 outdoor parking spaces in their listing, to at least have a front-facing sense of compliance. Now, that doesn't mean that the renters will actually comply with those regulations, but it's a step, because short-term renters aren't going to know that, and it's not it's not their responsibility to check our ordinance before entering town and saying, oh wait, I can only have 5 cars, even though it doesn't say.
I see it as a tool in the toolbox, like Heather
Sure.
said. We really have to have someone boots on the ground that's looking for stuff that a program isn't gonna pick up on.
And we've never had a CSO in Blue River, right?
Temporary.
We had a code ambassador, but is he?
That was just a polite term title for a CSO.
Okay.
That was his job, right?
I just.
What was that?
That
I know
was
I've
part of
seen
his
the
job, was to go around
flow
and check
chart,
them
and
out.
it showed the police state
But
over
these-
here and the code ambassador over here, so.
These types of duties though hadn't been clearly identified, and that was kind of part of the issue, was defining what this role looks like and what their duties are, and what is the overlap between the police department and the code ambassador, code enforcement. So just my quick opinion is that this software does seem to be beneficial in creating leads, but it's going to be like a detective. Someone is going to have to verify these leads and go through that and contact and vet these leads and stuff like that. And that's heavy administrative work where people are constantly doing that. But I think that's one of the aspects of whatever this position is. They also do some boots on the ground stuff, and they also do some other type of administrative stuff. But I think it is a good start. Sounds like a healthy tool to get the ball rolling to get compliance.
Can you help us with the boots on the ground part as to how we should best do that?
Yeah,
Either hire someone or rely on them.
So I think the idea is complaints come in or concerns come in, and then we can filter that. Is this the code ambassador's job, or does the officer need to go there? Is this a health, safety, or welfare type of concern, which could be a fire pit or too many cars, could be a concern for public safety. So, we can build all this. It's the marriage of the two, the police department and the town codes that and we've been working on it. We've been working on our code trackers and stuff like that for all the codes that the police department's responding to, and all the ideas so we have that transparency in what's happening. But then the administrative side still needs to be worked out.
Yeah, and that's where that job may become a bit more readily defined. I could completely not understand the larger scale context of it, but as I understand it, there were times that position was slated as a full-time position, but didn't have a full-time position's worth of work relative to how code enforcement could be handled at the given time. Just going out and searching around, we didn't have the tools and the measurements and things, and so a software like that to be able to assist that system and add another facet to the position to make it more robust and rounded role within the town. So I think it's an ongoing process and it will be refined, but it is a hole that needs to be.
Yeah, I think this gives us a chance to kind of
But I don't know.
lock up our
Yeah.
compliance and enforcement while we aren't taking on more of the same problems. So,
Hopefully we'll come up with a solution that really has teeth in it and it's meaningful instead of just talking about it and having ordinances that can't be enforced, that are not enforced.
exactly. Anyone else? Before we open up public comment.
I did have another thing of note. There is an item in the ordinance that excludes singular bedrooms in existing homeowner properties from obtaining a license, and I understand why that exists, but I do have a slight concern that if this is implemented, it'll be extremely hard to track whether or not that's used as a loophole to cut past the moratorium in place if we don't require a license at all on the town side, one way or the other, for that form of short-term rental. Not that it needs to be under the same category, but just it also makes it challenging for the town to track tax remittance, because then we would need to have a manual list, and then we need to also verify regularly to figure out if someone else has just listed and not told the town that they're listing and are not remitting. So that's just another. That's not a big challenge. It's not a particularly common approach in the town, but I would just voice that might be something that is worth discussing. Not right now, but in the longer term, just to understand how we want to approach that particular exemption. So that's all.
All right. I'm gonna open public comment back up.
Yeah, and Larry 23 Rustic Terrace, thank you for allowing us to speak at the end. It's helpful. I did read the packet, so I was pretty familiar, but we weren't privy to any numbers. So just a clarification question for Trustee Willie. Did you say 1 in 35 were in compliance with new regulations?
Yeah.
And did I correctly hear that there's approximately 240 versus the 210 licensed?
We don't have a firm number exactly yet at this
Just-
moment, but yes, yeah.
And then what is that? I think the number used to be approximately 27% of total properties, and that would relate to, I think, 775 houses, but I don't have any numbers in front of me. What would that put us at today at 240? That's like 3 to 4% more. Are we over the 30% short-term rentals to total? Do we have that number?
I had made a note based off a neighborhood by these highlights. I don't have exact information on the town wide, but there are a number of neighborhoods that if you compare them, I had two different categories, one against all lots that exist in the home, not built or unbuilt, and then another one that was percentage of strictly built lots. And if we did, let's say 30% as the benchmark, at the existing moment, there are 8 neighborhoods that would exceed the 30% threshold.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a shell game going on, I think, for a while. It's nice to see some real numbers, and we appreciate you guys taking this up. Might be a good opportunity to look at minimum night stays. You know, this would be an opportunity while you're at it. I personally am all in favor of, a code enforcement officer or whatever you want to call it. But thank you. I think I would support, not that it matters, but I would support, my family would support the board taking whatever actions they see necessary in order to get, ensure that regulations are being, followed and we're doing enforcement. So thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Eric Raven, 48 Gray Squirrel. Question, does the town ever do joint ventures with Breckenridge? Seems like from the software perspective, if it's not a silver bullet solution, it would maybe give an opportunity, just an idea. And I don't know what the fines are for non-compliance, but usually money makes the world go round, and the more steep fines, all of a sudden, the more quick the application. So take that for what it's worth.
Thank you.
We do have a fairly good system for finding, but the big concern is that an unlicensed STR is discovered. They don't just kind of say, oh, okay, I'll come get a permit. They have to wait years before they get one. It's a big penalty if you operate without a license under our ordinance. So these people will be surprised when they possibly are not have a license that they can't get one for a living.
That's a big number.
All right, so I'm gonna close public comments. And
Thank
then,
you, Jody.
yeah,
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-2603. Town of Blue River establishing a temporary suspension and delay, a moratorium on the acceptance of applications for and the issuance of new licenses and renewals for licenses for short-term rental of property and declaring an emergency.
By the way, Bob, I had to look up on Google the difference between a majority vote and a super majority. It's not unanimous.
No, it's not.
It's-
Emergency ordinance.
Majority is just one over half. Super majority is like 2/3. It's ambiguous.
It could be 3/4, which is an emergency. Or you have to have 6 votes to pass an emergency ordinance. 6 and 7.
I second the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, you wanna add? Aye.
All right.
We got a super majority.
Yeah, half unanimously.
Good one. Okay,
Bob, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn.
It's okay. Take it.
All right. We are on to reports. Does any trustee have anything to report on anyone's on any? That's my ear. All right, Bob. God.
I don't have a report on this category.
Okay, perfect.
So let me pull up my report.
You're fine. That went quick.
First item under the manager's report would be the another business, the P&Z commissioner removal and appointment. Did you find a certificate of occupancy?
There is not one.
Okay. Neither of the applicants have certificate of occupancy relative to their statement of interest and does not constitute a valid request to join the P&Z board, so that is no longer a relevant item to consider in other business.
Can't we just make an exception for someone that's building a house?
They
We got a building permit.
State law requires them to be bona fide residents of the community, which means they live here. They actually live in their home. They get their mail to their home. They register their car. They register for licensing, everything. So it's not just.
So the ones, so we are clear on this, Chad.
Sure.
I don't know the first applicant,
Yes.
but I do know the second applicant who used to be on P and Z, was asked to leave P and Z because he sold his house, bought a lot and hadn't built it yet. Now he's building it. It's not finished yet. And I guess when he gets his CO and moved in, then he can reapply, but what's the other person situated? Did you say they're not a citizen of Blue River? or what?
Likewise, does not have certificate of occupancy.
Are they building a house also?
Correct.
Alright.
State law, state law.
Yeah. Okay.
How many seats are available?
Just one.
Unless you quit.
I,
It'd be two if you
Yeah, we've already discussed short-term regulations and reminders. I'm just saying things are underway, so there's really nothing to say more on that front.
Yeah.
April financial reports in front of you. You get too much time to review that in detail, but largely it's a positive outlook on the town, and there's things are trending positively. So there's really not much to report on that front. Just a reminder that the American Rescue Plan Fund has to be spent down by the end of the year with the 12/31/26 deadline. and a lot of that is being spent towards the broadband study that's ongoing. For update on fire restrictions in Summit County and other municipalities in the area, actually just got an email today because they're starting a weekly chain. We're updating the city managers where the fire data exists and is at. Data does not presently support fire restrictions at this time, and they noted that the snow and the other moisture has helped to reduce the risk at the given moment, which has been positive. I'm going to once again emphasize the pre-green up cleanup efforts. The red, white, blue pushes forward, stressing the importance of cleaning up the area around your house to mitigate fire risk as the dry season approaches. And the Gary Roberts Water Treatment Plant Edition update. For everyone's information, that treatment plant is the treatment plant that exists next to the spillway down all the way on the other side of town. They're proposing an addition. The town of Breckenridge owns the parcel, is doing the addition. They're in the design phase at the current moment. And they intend to present the project their current design progress as a work session item at the June board meeting, just so you all are aware of what's going on and where the progress is at. So they're more than happy to have this discussion and to do some an overview of the current design status. So I think that'll be a positive discussion. Just a reminder, the CML conference will be held from June 22nd to 25th of 2026 in Westminster. All the trustees and mayor are invited to attend. And please let me know if you wish to attend. I prefer to get that in by Friday because the rates go up before that, but that is not a hard and fast. But if you wish to attend, please let me know and I will set that up. The Goose Pasture Tarn access and boat permits are live on Citizen Serve, and they are in one combined application now for ease of access. That is a difference from the old system. They used to be two distinct permits, and now they're combined under one, and you can choose the individual items in that application. You must provide vehicle license plate information in the application because with this hang tag system, that is the way that we are able to monitor that and enforce it. That will either need to be put on a dashboard or on the rear view mirror when you're using the facing outwards. Yes. Make it as useful as possible. Applicants may select whether you wish to have the hang tags mailed to your mailing address or if you prefer to pick them up at town hall during operating hours. And as a reminder, the TARN is limited to town residents, long-term renters, more than 31 consecutive days, and must have their property owner's authority transferred over to them to be able to utilize it. And guests of town residents, provided that the resident accompanies the guests during TARN usage at all times. And access to the TARN is strictly prohibited for short-term renters, their guests, or invitees, and the use of a resident permit by any short-term renters will result in a permit revocation for the property owners and possible penalty if that is utilized in that nature. Just a note, I was approached by Vertical Bridge Cell Towers requesting any town interest in leasing property adjacent to town hall would be the preference, but any unutilized properties in town for a new cell tower, they're looking for 100 by 100 square foot piece of property not being used or being planned for future development. And I did administratively inform them that the town did not prioritize that sort of development at this time, but if the board had a contrary opinion, I would let them know.
They emailed me too.
Okay, because I wasn't alone.
So question on the tarn thing. So if I've registered 2 boats. So what if you don't want your kayak, but you want your canoe? Can you just use one floating vessel on that same thing instead of like, oh, I got to register a canoe, I got to do my kayak, my paddleboard, my raft, and only one of them's coming? Can we just use that thing, but just bring one water vehicle per time?
We set up the application to be able to select the number of boats that you would like on your permit, and then it generates a drop down where you can select individual types.
I saw that. That's what I did.
Exactly. But if regardless of how many are used at the given time, if it is, are they different forms of boats, they need to be individually listed on the permit. So 2 boats would need 2 separate. It would be under the same permit, but they're 2 separate.
It's 2 separate boats, but I mean, can it be
Any
Say-
two,
huh?
any two.
Any 2? Like I'm saying, so I've got a kayak, I've got a canoe, I got a paddleboard, I got a raft. But I have 2 permits, so if I only bring 2 boats every time, wouldn't that be fair than to have 4, but 3 are at home?
We have no ability then at that point to decide whether to figure out whether or not, if you say I'm only going to bring 2, and then you bring 3. If you have 4, if you had 4 boats and you brought 3,
Well,
like,
it used to be.
it's
Yeah.
just the way. It would be hard to administratively figure that one out because we at that point it would be the honor system to decide whether.
It seems reasonable
Hello?
to me. If you're down there and you
I'm
have
pretty sure I
one
only
boat,
bring
one
the one.
permit, that's cool. If you go down with 1 permit and 2 boats, that's not good. But if you have 2 permits and 2 boats, that's okay, or watercraft. And if you have 4 watercrafts at your house, but you're only taking 2 at a time, that seems reasonable to me, and that's a permitting process. If you've got 2 permits already and not having to worry about a permit for each one of them.
Sure, but in that sense, how would you suggest we approach someone who has those 4 boats and
If they have
decides they
4
only want to bring 2, but they decide after they get the permit, hey, never mind, I have someone else visiting as well, I'd like to bring 3.
then that's
Then they
a
have to
violation.
pay 20 more bucks.
If they have more than 2 on the lake at a time, then they're in violation. Seems pretty simple.
So it is kind of an honor system, but I think it's more. I mean, in the past, I've paid the $20 and my canoe never hit the water. You know, which is my own fault. But I have a feeling this year might be used more. But I only got 2.
Yeah.
Even though my wife's going, I'm not the only one going to use a paddleboard. And I go, well, I bought that kayak for no reason because it never hit the water last year. But I was just curious if it could be tweaked that, okay, you have 2 permits, you can only have 2 boats ever. Or if you think you're going to do 3, then you might as well pay for 3 or 4, you know. I paid for 4 if I thought they were all going to go, but the most I'll probably ever do is 2.
Yeah, the intent is
I mean,
that
there'll be different kinds.
I mean, we aren't going to say, hey, you own 4 boats.
Right.
You have to have 4 permits.
Or that kayak looks like a canoe today, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
There's gray area to it, but it's just
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we're not going around saying that, hey, you have 4 boats in your yard.
Right.
And you only have 2 permits.
Right.
It's an intention that you apply for permits for the ones that you are going to use. The only challenge being that it does make it difficult to retroactively go in, and it is unlikely. I trust you would do it, but it's unlikely that others would decide a 3rd boat. Hey, I actually do want to use this, and I am going to apply for a permit.
Right.
Yeah, that's just something challenging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rules are rules.
Yeah.
You paid for the life jacket and haven't used it yet, right?
Yeah. Don't swim it.
That's everything from the manager's report.
Can I ask a question, Chad?
Please.
Does that water plant expansion require 1041 permit?
I'll get back to you on that.
I would be curious about the cell phone tower because I think cell phone service in Blue River is an interesting subject as far as the safety concern goes. Because when the internet goes out for a lot of people, they don't necessarily have a way to contact folks.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Can I comment on that?
Of course you
Because
can.
I agree with you on the stuff. Now, when we first started talking about broadband, this is when Michelle was the manager. I don't recall anything about doing a report running it into the neighborhood. It was all about running it down the highway and making it available for cell phone service primarily. And the way I understand the way broadband works is they have those little square antennas that go on top of poles or trees, like a pizza box, and it transmits your signal goes back and forth, and that's how you get your cell service on that broadband. And since we're going down this rabbit hole already, this thing said it was like a, what, 90-year, 70-year lease. I would not be in favor. It's very obtrusive to me. I agree with you, Nick, that we need better cell service, but I think we can accomplish that with broadband. And I think there's a way, we talked about this too, where we could possibly get broadband sooner, at least on the highway, with some conversations, having conversations with the sanitation district. And I don't know if that's happening. I talked to on that board, and I've talked to Abby. And you guys, I guess you haven't actually connected. You know each other, but you haven't really had a conversation.
That is also a larger discussion of when or if the county is going to implement their desire to have broadband shoot from there off Highway 9 to the Quandary Peak neighborhoods over there. So that's an independent timeline as well. That it's difficult to get a hard fast on when that is actually feasible.
Yeah, the county resident.
But that is the most likely where the county and Upper Blue coordinate, get that through, and then we may be able to use that for our own.
Can't you put partial broadband in so you can bring it through Blue River and then design it so it can be connected to at a different time for the rest of the county up on Hoosier Pass?
I'm not sure whether or not, the question would be whether or not the county would be interested in doing such a thing, because that is the county's, generally speaking, that is the county's intended project, and the intention of it is to service the county specific items at the end there. So I think unless they can lock, stock, and barrel get it all the way through the town and up there in during their project, I would imagine they would not be speaking favorably.
If I understand you correctly, Chad, this is being spearheaded by the county, and we're just going along for the ride.
That is the current broadband discussions at the moment. However, that doesn't mean that the town does not have avenues of our own. But our cost estimates, I will remind that the cost estimate at the current time are $7.5 million to overground it on poles and $10 million to underground it.
Let me just bring that up. I talk a lot about sanitation district. They're talking about possibly having to abandon the south plant here.
Yeah, you brought that up.
And they would dig a trench for the main that would go down to town. They would dig the trench and pay for it. And we just have to pay for putting the broadband cable in. Instead of all getting, that would significantly.
If that happens, that would be. I agree with you. But that's again a tentative plan. We're not sure that the water district's doing that for sure. They're not 100%.
I know that they're pretty serious about because of and I want Chad and the manager Abby to get together to discuss this, because I think we could accelerate this at least through Blue River if it all comes together.
Can they utilize the same trench? I know
Yes.
with a lot of
Yes.
many of the utilities, they need to be
No, they
spaced.
can utilize the same trench.
I mean, back to the cell phone tower, which is the start of the conversation. I mean, I would be more than willing to hear a presentation from them. I know I don't agree with the 75-year lease. I don't agree with all the terms that they pitched, but this is the first pitch. This is just what they threw out to see if something would stick. I mean, you can make them look like trees and stuff. There's ones that are more hidden than what the big red thing right there. I just think that servicing this end of town with a better cell phone signal is a public safety thing at this point. Because you can't maintain a phone call at a cell phone booth through Blue River. There's no way. At least I can't.
It's a long-term commitment, and it's pretty big.
I'm not saying that I'm saying yes. I'm saying I would hear them out. I'm also saying that I'm not saying 75 years is a good term. I mean, this is the start of the negotiation if we say they can come present. We're not saying yes to this.
Well, they approached the sanitation district too.
Oh, sure.
On our property, and we said no, because we don't want to put something like that in Blue River if it impacts the citizens of Blue River from a visual point of view. That's why we said no. Because we were thinking of the visual impact that it would have on the community. It wouldn't make any difference if we put one there or not. $900 a month, no big deal, but what the heck?
As I said, I was just Wouldn't the sanitation district need our permission to do it? The sanitation district would need our permission to do it in Blue River. I'm just saying I would hear them out. If no one else wants to, that's okay with me too. I'm saying I would let them come up for a presentation and have to start the discussion. Because I do think cell phone service in Blue River is becoming, it's an issue. I mean, there's people who cannot connect to the outside world, their internet goes out. I'm fortunate enough, I get a cell phone signal in my house, so if we don't put another tower in town, I can still make a phone
I
call.
would rather see where this broadband thing can go.
I would rather have broadband as well, but
We
they're,
can look at both.
yeah, I think that we should be looking at all avenues. That's all I'm saying is that
Yeah.
not slamming the door shut.
It wouldn't hurt to look at it.
As I'm saying, like I don't want a 75-year lease in front of the town hall, but
So would the board be in favor of requesting that as a work session item where proposed locations
yeah,
be brought up and what the larger idea would be behind it?
yeah, I think some more
I think
information
the
would be
June
fantastic.
agenda is fairly full, so I might bump that to July.
I don't think it's like the most pressing, but as I said, I think it's an interesting option to get a self.
Okay.
I was always under the impression from our previous town manager, the reason we couldn't have cell phone towers in Blue River had something to do with the fact we didn't have the infrastructure to put it in. There's always been an issue in Blue River.
I mean, 20 years ago, without landlines, it didn't matter.
Yeah, now you have landlines.
So,
Now you get a landline, it's funny when you're digging.
like you said, internet service goes down, there's a ton of people who have no access.
Oh, it's on, right?
I mean, it doesn't
That could
hurt
be
for them
one
to
of
come up.
You
Yeah.
know, there is something called Starlink. And that works better than it's amazing. I've had it. So it's not like people can't. Now, when you're in your car, but even though you can get Starlink on your car too, it's really that important to you. But they do work very well.
Expect every guest that's coming to stay at a property to have Starlink to access when the power goes out and they don't know how to reach the appropriate people.
I'm just saying, I just don't want to. I'm down with, if you want to do it, right, invite them.
Well, it's not very much, John. I agree with that. Is everyone okay with that? Perfect. Anything else, Chad?
That's really everything for me.
Chief?
Does the board have questions for me specifically?
I don't know if you were part of the
I wasn't here last time.
hanging tag, but
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I like the way you did it. Having the license plate on there. Good job.
It's a non-transferable, yeah.
And are you gonna be enforcing that, chief?
Absolutely, that's one of our biggest pushes, and it makes our job, we can actually accomplish that task by verifying if people have passes or not.
You
Without,
want to talk to somebody I know?
did we?
Mm-hmm. I think it was you.
No.
Wow, he said it was.
I've been-
That's the text I got.
We have been stopping by the tarn, being very proactive with it until we got this land use agreement in place, and then
Perfect.
that's gonna free us up to do what we need to.
Awesome. When we get a new cop car.
We're working on it. A little bit of tug and war with insurance and coming up with a final figure that we should be reimbursed, but we continue to make progress on that. I have some things set up, so once we get the green light, I've got a car in Colorado that we can use, and I've got people building our graphics and getting all our pieces ready. So yeah, once we get the final approval, we can go. We'll go pretty quickly, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I think you did good doing some outside of the box thinking on that one, because the lead time can be atrocious for police cars and their customer.
Well, if we use traditional methods, like how we got these initial cars, it could take us a year to get a cop car, and we need to have another marked car available sooner than later. So
100%.
we're working on that as quickly as possible.
Going back to the tire conversation real quick, I don't know if this involves you, chief. Are we gonna do some new signage down there, clean it up?
That was after the conclusion of this contract and resolution authorizes us to have a little more leeway in doing so. But we will be having those discussions and making those signs.
Awesome. All right, other matters we brought before the Board of Trustees. Consideration of the Board of Trustees special meeting on May 26th.
The current item on there is the 15 Wilderness Drive variance. The original intent of the 2020 of the 26 meeting has been rendered, is no longer pressing and no longer needs the board to have a verdict on it. So this is the only item on the agenda. I would recommend that we still hold it due to the nature of variance hearings and the challenges associated with them. However, it is up to the discretion of the board whether or not that is held or moved to the June 16th regular meeting. There's a potential, however, they are not set yet for other variances at the June 16th meeting unrelated to this one. So we have a pretty large agenda in June 16th.
And this is the one that was already pushed once.
Correct. So, but that is the board's discretion to decide whether or not that is you wish to hold it.
Anybody?
This is the May 26th meeting.
Yes, that we're meeting next Tuesday.
What is the suggestion?
Is the notice already went out?
Well, we had notice sent out for the 26th, so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna throw a little wrench into the machine.
So if that throws a wrench, if we're supposed to do it, I mean, I already had it on my schedule,
I did too.
so, I mean, I don't wanna.
That's the only,
That is correct.
that's the question.
So are we doing it?
So yeah, I think if we sent the notice out, it sounds like.
It would be, we'd have to do a little gyration to kind of cancel the notice and put out a new one, send it out. We're already teed up to have it, so. Doesn't
So I think
hurt to have it. teed up.
That probably answers your question, that's the only thing on the agenda.
Did the notice go onto the town's website, or where, isn't that the formal notice location?
It was published in the local newspaper. That it is required to a 15-day advance window in the local newspaper.
Okay.
And there's also the, or the
Yes,
delivery by
the delivery by the applicant.
people.
Yeah, real property owners with real estate within 300 feet of the property.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. Yeah, I thought the website was the formal location. Thank you.
All right. We answered the planning and zoning commission question, correct?
Yes. Does the special session require any sort of motion to move forward with it or not? No. Okay, percent. Okay, good. Yeah, and we don't need to worry about the planning and zoning commission. Yes, there's nothing to discuss at that time. Look at that.
Who wants to join me and Jody on the finance committee? Not everyone all at once. That's wild.
What you get when you're not here.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be one of them.
Yeah, but you can't make it show up.
I know it was on it, so now we have a vacancy, it's me and Jody currently.
How often does the finance committee meet?
It does not.
We used to meet once.
Wait, this stuff's better all the time.
We used to meet around once a month.
Yeah.
But we haven't done that in a while.
It's up to the discretion of whether or not you wish to.
A lot of it is reviewing reviewing the invoices, approving those.
You get a text.
Meet when we need it too. We haven't had to.
If
And
you
more
need-
paperwork
If you need a
review
person to
instead.
volunteer.
Yeah, I'll do it. Alright, you just gotta watch, you have to download bills.com and approve them. I'm probably be better at it than I am at it.
So.
So you get, join
You're
an
gonna-
email that says there's a bill to be approved. You have to go online and approve the bill.
Me personally.
Yeah.
Familiar with.
I do it now.
So would you still do?
All three of us do
Three
it.
people.
3 people do it.
So how do
We
you
already
decide
do it.
who?
Everyone does it.
Everybody.
It needs three.
Yes, it's 6 others.
And you can't be late, 'cause then people don't get paid.
Bob gets mad.
And this comes on the town website, not our first.
Or no, your town email.
Town email.
I do it on the app, but yeah, you can do that on your email. So I get like an alert on my phone.
Oh,
When he
okay.
puts them in all at once, like in one
So you
big
can
session, so I got like
just-
15 alerts.
You can show me. or
Yeah, it's super simple.
Okay, yeah, I'll follow.
Alright,
Thank you.
it already is.
That helps out.
Hey Chad, will you just call me and help me get that set up and?
Yeah.
And just tell me.
I will be discussing. I'll discuss that with John. I really don't have much of a stake in bills.com. but
Yeah, it might be more of a John.
We'll
thing.
be talking about that.
We can do it. It's for a reason. You'll like it.
You're gonna love it, Mark. morning. All right, guys.
That's it, yeah.
Thanks everyone for showing up. Really appreciate it. No, yeah, we
Doug, has there been any more bears at one?
What's that?
Has there been that bear anymore going into people's houses or anything? that you're
No, I
aware of?
think it's living by your bird feeders. No, I haven't even seen it.
He's been around my house a bunch. I got a bunch of prints.
Really?
Yeah, a bunch.
No, I haven't seen it
I haven't figured it
since it went into the house. So no.
Whose house to go?
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
At our house?
In and out of the gray log house in the morning.
We need more rubber buckshot.
I mean, that
Right.
bear, literally, we have a lever handle, it up and down like 10 times and was pushing on the door.
Thanks, guys.
Fortunately, I've never had a bear do that.
Well, I've seen them before I go through walls.
Really?
They've torn the wall off of like sheds and stuff to
yeah.
get
Oh,
into
yeah.
these areas. They don't always use the door. That's the plight there.
Right.
Got the back of my truck.
So John is the same for that permit, just go online.
I know. In my house.
I mean, it's the same thing.
They're got in that same trash. That's why you actually found out.
I'll figure it out. I tried to pull it up.
I
Or do I go to the?
Or to the back of my truck, around.
It's like.
All right,
I'm in there.
Appreciate it.
That's the bed, so it's like. Thank you.
This is what I did today. Yeah, and then. But I go to the portal and I didn't find my application. Okay.
Yeah.
I should know how to do this by now. I'll figure it out.
Stop by.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. That's easier. Thanks, John.
Did you hear it all?
I eat raccoons.
But
Yeah. And that's what.
Yeah.
And they've done.
Yeah, that was actually
Raccoons
good.
go nuts. It's like, are you kidding?
I had a once with my dog when I was so
I think they took. It wasn't, I didn't think about it, like, I'm assuming it.
Yeah.
My old dog used to be.
Why-
Chasing up the tree or whatever.
Oh, they
My
did.
new dog,
I
he kind of stayed
I
quiet.
heard that.
I've got it.
I thought it was moving down that driveway.
Trying to